So what do you think about when you hear Lake Okeechobee? What's the first thing that comes to your mind? As somebody who lives in Pennsylvania, I wanted to share my honest opinion on the lake because I've been blessed over the last 5 years, and I'm going again next week to take long weekends and fish Okeechobee. And in my mind, before I ever went down there, it was the mecca of bass fishing. And I'll be honest, I think I had some unrealistic expectations. I don't think I went down there thinking that you would catch a 10 pounder every cast because that's not fishing. That's not realistic. Um, but I don't think that I realized how tough it would be. And there's a couple of reasons for that. The lake is facing some challenges. We all know about the spraying, and it is not in prime condition right now. Although I heard it's getting a little better, so that's encouraging. One of the other challenges is, for instance, this year, this is going to be the first time that I get to fish because our water's been hard for months. So, I'm essentially walking down and putting my name into the Super Bowl without even playing a preseason game. So, I'm going to be rusty. And you have to fish clean to have a good shot. Fishing clean can be the difference between an 18-pound bag and a 25 or 30-pound bag. And you have to be patient and stubborn. She is a grind. And in some cases, I don't think that it's the type of lake where you want to pick the trolling motor up too often. I think it's one that if you can be patient enough and they're in an area and you can wait them out in that area, they'll turn on. So, I've done that where we've burned a lot of fuel and, we catch a good number of fish, but, not a whole lot of size to them throughout the day. I've been there where you pick one off every once in a while. I've been there when, we went 7.5 hours without a bite, but in the last 20 minutes, we had a chance at 30 pounds. That's how quick it can really go off. But I will say this, every time I've been down there, I've had the opportunity to stick a big one. And when I say a big one, I would call that down there probably that 6-pound class and up. That's the cool part about the lake is there are a lot of little bucks, but there are a ton of 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 pounders. It's not the land of tens, although they're in there. But if you want to go catch quality fish, 5, 6, 7 pounds, have a real shot at numbers of those, it's a phenomenal fishery. One other thing that I would mention is you need to be open-minded when you go down there because if you think you know what's going on, maybe back on your home lake or based on the time of year or the weather conditions or whatever whatever you've learned through experience, read through the magazines, it's Florida. Florida plays by its own set of rules, and you need to keep an open mind. Um, those guys that are down there, they eat, sleep, and breathe that lake. They make a living on that lake, and they truly do know best. So, if you go down and you try to do it your way, it might be a little difficult. I'm not saying you won't have success, but be willing to take some advice and to give it an honest try because the style of fishing down there is just different. It's very different. Um, so all in all, what are my thoughts? Well, for one, I keep going back. Although I've not seen it in its prime, I've seen what the spraying has done. Hopefully we'll see what happens as it recovers. And I can tell you that you're going to be humbled. There's a really good chance you're going to be humbled. But you got to grind. And if you grind and if you work for it, she will give one up. It's kind of like golf, where, you might play a terrible round, but you hit those 1 or 2 shots that keep you coming back. I really want to be there when I land on it when it's right. And the place absolutely goes crazy because I've heard stories about that and it happens fast. It doesn't last long, but when everything lines up and it fires, it's special. Um, and that's the crazy part is that their weather is so temperamental Really what you need to land on is a wave of spawning fish coming in, or you need to be in that period where they're, post spawn and just gorging on bluegill. A lot of the stuff's being, the tournaments and whatnot, they're being won in the river and in the canal, in the rim ditch. And, that's kind of disappointing because I'm a lake guy. I want to go out in the grass and I want to, that hand to hand combat. I want to catch him on a frog. I want to wrestle him, pitching a beaver around, dragging a worm, swim jigging, chatterbaiting, that kind of a thing. Uh, but they're still there to be had. I think the scope deal has really opened up what lives in the waters on the outskirts, and that's why you're seeing some of that. But I'm sort of old school in the fact that I want that hand-to-hand combat. So even if I know there's 30 pounds in the river, you'll probably catch me on the lake, and I don't think that's a bad thing. I think it could take some of the pressure off of those fish. Um, But this time of year, we're tail end probably of spawn. You might get a few that come in. I think they may spawn year round down there. Who really knows? Maybe not when the water's boiling, but this time of year, these types of conditions, and they had a cold winter too. So, there's a chance that everything could be a step behind. But, it's an interesting place. If you're catching them on Friday, you may not catch them on Sunday. You've got to stay almost like 2 steps ahead, and that's what makes it really challenging when you go down just once a year. So, my suggestion is this: if you haven't been, go. Get a guide. Absolutely get a guide. Take their suggestions if you really want a chance to be successful. Um, I don't shiner fish, but I know they catch big ones doing that. I prefer artificial. I think for me, it's more of the sport of it. I think it's more satisfying. Um, you have to present the bait a certain way. You have to. There's just more to it that draws me in as opposed to live bait fishing. But that's an option. Maybe if you're just getting into fishing, but check it out. Give it an honest shot. You've got to be patient, and the biggest thing I can tell you is to have the right expectations, which is little to none. Um, just appreciate the chance to be on one of the best bass fishing lakes in the world historically. Um, Appreciate it for the beauty, the wildlife, for the folks that have been on before. And I will tell you this, on its worst day, Okeechobee is by far still one of the best fisheries that I've ever been on. Um, it is something special. It is something to be protected. But I hope that that's the direction that we're going. Uh, if you have the right expectations, you appreciate where you're at, you enjoy it, it can be a real special place. So anyway, that's just wanted to get those thoughts onto a video because like I said, I'm going down next week. I think I always romanticize it a little bit. I sit here and think, gosh, I haven't fished in months. I can't wait to get on the water. And then 3 hours into the trip, when I don't have a bite, I'll be like, oh my gosh, this lake sucks, right? That's what we all say. This place is terrible. But the truth is, it's not. It's absolutely not. I have to remember that there's going to be a 3 or 4 or 5 month period next year where I'm sitting on my couch wishing I could be fishing. So, I've got to be grateful that I have the opportunity to go and to be there. And if you have the chance, I would suggest you do it. So anyway, I hope there's something in there that's helpful. And yeah, we'll catch you on the next one. Maybe I'll do a quick video whenever we get back and let you know how it went. All right, take care.